Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today we're just gonna jump right into it. We're talking about getting out of a creative block. Whether you're a photographer, writer, choreographer, musician, artist, rapper, any type of creative person, no matter what type of creative person you are, I'm sure everybody has reached this point of like feeling like nothing's just getting the ball rolling, nothing is inspiring you, nothing is sparking that creative juice to get you going. It's like you just feel like you've hit a brick wall and like nothing's just doing it for you. And it's so annoying, it's so frustrating, and trust me, I get it because I've been there before. As a writer and as a photographer, videographer, sometimes you just like, you feel like nothing is working and you just have no ideas and you're just blank. I really wanted to give you guys some recommendations or some of my suggestions from personal experience, you know, things that I do when I feel like I've reached that point. So if you're interested in hearing more about what I do and my personal tips for getting over creative block, then keep on watching. So my first tip, and it's gonna be very simple, but here it is: take a walk. So effective. I'm sure you've heard this idea before, but the sad reality is most people are not taking walks these days. So healthy for your body, it's so good for your mood. It's just so good. Like, you'd be surprised at what just a 15 to 30 minute walk around your block or somewhere or into the park, what that could just do for you and getting your mind going. I tend to get a lot of my inspiration from going outside and taking a walk. It's so weird because it's literally like the littlest things that you'll see while you're just outside in nature and just surrounded by that will just spark something. So my next tip is to brain dump. If you haven't heard of brain dumping, basically what it is, you pretty much write down everything that's on your mind, whether that's with a pen and paper or on your computer. You literally just write down anything that comes to mind and you're not focused on, you know, the grammar, the spelling, it making sense, just getting all your thoughts out. Nothing is off the table, nothing is off limits, nothing is too stupid. Like, it doesn't really matter. You're just focused on getting all your ideas out. And you might be thinking, wait, but how am I supposed to be getting anything out if my mind is blank? If you reach that point where you really just don't have anything on your mind, literally write that. Nothing is on my mind. I can't think of anything. And just see where it takes you. What I like to do is I set a timer and then just write brain dump for that time. And what's crazy is before this became like a mainstream thing that people are doing, I remember back in like my elementary school days where we would have this time of writing when we first came in our, like the writing portion of our class. The teacher would give us our notebooks and she would set the timer. The only rule was that you can't stop writing like until the timer is up. So I think this exercise has really just stuck with me, not only with like writing, but just in helping me come to a clear mind. All this is really is just building momentum. When you're at a creative block, you know, you don't have that momentum. You're kind of at like a stop, at a still. What this does, what brain dumping does, it just gets things kind of, gets the ball kind of rolling to where once you have that momentum, you have the ball kind of rolling, you're able to branch off from there and really build off of it. And especially if you're somebody that gets easily overwhelmed like me by little things, this could be a really good step, just helping you break down your thoughts and things like that. My third tip is to avoid social media. I know people always say this, and you know, it's kind of getting kind of harder when everything is just so out in front of you. I also do think that you could take this one with a grain of salt in that you know, everybody works differently. And it really just depends, because a lot of times I do get inspired by things that I see on my feed, and it just gives me ideas when I see certain different things visually, and I'm like, oh, I could do something like that. So in that sense, it can kind of be good and it can be a source of like motivation. But on the flip side of that, it could also be a negative thing towards your creativity, because you could run into a point where you're feeling like comparison or getting decision fatigue or just feeling overwhelmed, getting diluted by like all this subliminal messaging that's going into you, you could kind of reach a point of feeling like after looking at social media for too long that it's like, okay, they've already done it. Everybody's already done what I'm trying to do, or why should I even try? Avoiding social media for a split second will kind of help me so that I'm just more clear-minded and my decisions not being compromised by everything else that I'm seeing. It might just be that one form of social media, like one platform is not being helpful while the other one is still giving you inspiration. Sometimes I'll lean away from like Instagram, but I'll continue to watch videos on YouTube and I'll still get inspired from them, and it won't feel like it's taking away from me. So you really just got to figure out which ones are taking, which ones you're gaining from, and find out what works for you and helps you out. Now, contrary to that last point, I'm gonna kind of contradict myself and tell you to watch a movie or a TV show. Preferably something that's funny, lighthearted, something that's like a comedy or a drama or something like that. As long as it's just something completely unrelated to your field of creativity and what you're getting into. So for example, for me, I consume a lot of like self-help, self-development stuff. I'll watch like documentaries and things like that. I'll just go and watch like an animated movie on Netflix or a stand-up comedy, or I'll just watch like the 85 South show or something like that. Just something completely just non-related, something to give me a fresh headspace. And I think it just helps to remind you to not take everything so seriously, because this is your passion, this is your craft, but it doesn't have to be that deep. Like, you could just be creating just because it makes you feel good, and it's important to not lose sight of that aspect of it and why you started to create what you create in the first place. Similar to that, you could also just read a fiction book. I would not advise reading like self-help or something that's non-fiction, because I feel like it could be a little too like straining and make you think too much. Fiction just kind of sparks that kid in you to where you're able to think of things that you weren't originally thinking of. Just kind of like open your mind up. Another really good tip is go hang out with people. Go interact and go call up your friend, go watch a movie, or go grab some food outside. I think a lot of times when we're in this zone, sometimes you just need to like take a break and step away from that in order to recharge, you know what I mean? You could also just find like a lot of inspiration from them, or just interactions that you have. Some of my like video ideas come from people that I've just had conversations with, candid conversations where I'm like, oh, what they said or what we just talked about, that would actually be a really cool video idea or something like that. And then if all else fails, man, just go to the gym. We all know that exercise is really good for producing those endorphins that will, boost your mood and get you going. So sometimes you just need to go in there and pump some iron and get it in one time, and then sweat it out and come back feeling like you're ready to just tackle the whole world. You know what I mean? Yeah, those are my tips for how to get out of a creative block, writer's block. Just when you're feeling like nothing is working. Try these things out. Let me know if they work. And also let me know in the comments if you have any other tips or suggestions, things that you do that personally works for you. And I know, like, it sucks. It sucks when you're at that block. Like, it really does. You're not gonna be there forever, so just remember that. And speaking of creative block and feeling overwhelmed, make sure you watch my video on self-doubt if you haven't already. Maybe that will help you out in your creative endeavors as well. If you're a real one, you'll go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, you'll go ahead and hit that like button. But that's only if you're a real one, As always, thanks for tuning in, you guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.